on my merry way, and I just got talking about how streets are laid out in cities. Hello, everyone. This is Jack, your host for the Amazing Skill Modelers. Let me put this pair of glasses on because that way my luggage under my eyes are less noticeable. Anyway, welcome everybody who is watching and who is doing this in replay. We're going to talk about some stuff. We're going to talk about a little bit of weathering and a little bit of wiring, electric, to enhance, basically enhancing your builds and perhaps a display or a diorama that you have. Get some ideas. We'll knock a few ideas around. The sun is coming up, so let me get a little less washed out. Anyway, let's bring everybody on. Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Hello.
This is the usual crowd, of course, and I think between me and Jim, we're pretty good on the electric stuff when it comes to the weathering. Phil and Randall will be good on the weathering side of things because that's what they do, and they do it very professionally.
Because I'm heavily weathered.
And I'm under the weather.
And you're under the weather.
Thank you for joining us, everyone. It was nice seeing you all. Here and Buck. Hi, Buck.
Oh, Buck
Hi,
finally got in.
Hey, bud.
Buck finally got in. It took a while to get
I had to restart things.
in. You guys, well, that sometimes does work. I had to cue in late because I knew you were going to come in eventually, and I wanted to bring you on because your last build has the two components. I don't know how much you've heard so far, talking about wiring things, lighting things up, and doing some weathering. And that's what we're going to talk about. So who wants to start? Not everybody at the same time. We can't do it all at one time.
All right. Sure, I'll go for it. I haven't been with you guys in a while, so thank you for letting me come back.
Letting you. Oh!
Oh,
Oh! What did I do?
There you go.
Sorry.
There you go. Yeah.
That's what I wanted to do.
He pushed the wrong button.
I pushed the wrong button. Sorry.
That's all right. Hey, it's all right. So, yeah, I try to do lighting where it works best in stories like starships and mostly, but I have done a couple experiments. As you guys know, I did that on the 67 Impala Supernatural, and what a bugger.
Now that's a new kit though. That's been engineered just recently, hasn't it?
Yeah, it came out. Yeah, I think it was around the start of summer is when it first. And I thought, when I got the light board and everything, I was thinking, okay, 125th should be pretty good size, and yeah, it wasn't. So I had to use a lot of SMDs, and didn't work. It worked and didn't work, but it looked great. I love doing it. My dear friend that I built it for is loving it. And then I'm going to upload another video today, but I got done with my daughter's and my dear friend's Grim Reaper that I lit and added effects to. I did slow breathing LED lights to help enhance the fog, and then I did LED lights. Hey, there you go. To do lightning strikes, and then first time I did fire. Here, let me send you the one like I said, I'm still working on, but let me I'll message you the one that I did that I sent to my daughter.
So, maybe I should share it. I don't know. You can share it.
I don't remember right now how to, but let me hold on. You do better with it than I do, brother. So here you go. I'm sending it now.
You're sending it through what exactly?
Messenger because that's the best way. And I sent the two photos that you're going to get are of me actually all done, and then the video is only about a minute and a half of showing all the effects. But I like doing the electronics, the wiring and the lighting, because it enhances the story. It gives it another depth. I mean, yeah, I love doing the painting and doing all the different parts to it, but being able to enhance the story means a lot to me. So if I love lighting stuff. Right now I just while I was finished this one, I started my next big build, which is the Enterprise refit, and going to be working on that for a while. So, and no, I mean, lighting kits just adds another level to it. I mean, I do static builds. Those I'm finding out now because I am officially medically retired. So I static builds I can do in a week or two, and then the Grim Reaper I did took me a couple of weeks, but yeah, adding electronics or lighting, anything helps tell the story that sometimes paint and scratch build just can't bring to it. But it is it can be frustrating and a pain, but when it does get together and work, it's awesome.
Jim and I were just talking about that build that you did, and of course, it's a pretty cool build. And I thought that you went out on a limb, not just in the lighting, but the actual effects that you were trying to create there. I think it was a good first effort. I haven't seen you do anything like that, is my point. And you had a good first effort there.
Thank you.
And I was thinking I'd like to have that kit because we were talking about a fantasy story about a Grim Reaper. He wouldn't be in a cemetery. He'd be in someone's bedroom who's about to off themselves.
That would be fun. The reason he's got my first choice was not to do red for his eyes, but my daughter and friend made a request because I wanted to do Grim. Yeah, he's death. Grim Reaper's going to come for us all, and I don't particularly feel he's evil. And I wanted to give him more of a candlelight essence with his eyes. So the next time I build him, I'm definitely going to do that. And like I said, I found this lighting board through electronics company that does mostly for instruments and stuff, but they have other stuff they're doing for siren, emergency lighting, for emergency lights for ambulances and cruisers and all that. And I think the next time I do it, I'm going to actually, if I do a lighting effect, I want to build a shadow box and have a frosted plexiglass top so it comes down and not up through the fog, because I think it's taken away from it a little bit, but I like it. So
mm-hmm. That's I have, if you're following the community in the post, I've been posting some electronic stuff because I'm actually determined to make my first 100% build all me.
Mm-hmm.
From design to making the model. It's just kind of a scratch build, 3D printing it, putting the electronics in, the whole 9 yards.
I've been following. I love what you're doing so far.
Yeah, well, it's a matter of getting the energy to continue with it because I've been with this for way too long. I'm kind of wanting to get to something else, but if I do that, then I'll never get back to this and finish. So
you're like me. It's like, oh, I'm going to get this fit, and then you just put it on the shelf, and something more. How does it say? Something else caught my interest.
Oh?
No, I mean, that's what Lou says. When he shelves a model he's frustrated with, he's like, oh, yeah, something more interesting caught mine. Yeah, I'll get back to it, but, something more interesting got a hold of me, so.
Okay, and I think the better one of this is probably Phil, the obsessive detailer. When it comes to the weathering, and he's tinkered a little bit in voltage as well. We were just talking about that this morning, and you were saying that you do basic stuff when it comes to effects, but you're the probably among us. I think you would take the cake between us to doing the best kind of weathering and aging and however. I think I can comfortably say that, right, guys?
Yeah.
Yes.
I could show you some examples.
That's what why we're focused on you now.
Yeah. Well, if you don't mind me showing a little bit of armor, I can show you some weathering that I did earlier. A few years back. And the differences between when you do weathering, say on space vehicles, and doing the weathering for, say, tanks and for aircraft, because you have different procedures for each, really. I'll try and share a screen. Application window. This is a small tank. This is when it was just painted, no weathering at all. Obviously, it looks rather toy-like. You can add things like chipping, so in the areas of where you chip the paint, and that was actually done by using a lighter version of the base coat, and then in the middle of that I would put some dark grey, to show it like through to the metal.
To show the corrosion, yeah.
It wouldn't be corroded, but it would be chipped and damaged. Driving through bushes and stuff, it would chip off the. So I think then I put a clear coat on it to protect all of that, and then we started dirtying it up, mud and grime. That was with Flory washes. I used like rust effects for the actual exhaust, and then you clean it off. You let it dry, clean it off as much as possible, and the more you clean off, the cleaner it looks. But you sort of get to a state like that, so that you can go, say, in vehicles like tanks and that, have it sort of very, very dirty. Like all the mud spattered up around the running gear.
Yeah.
So that's the one type of weathering you can go for, and as I say, that was done really mainly with clay washes and some pigments that you have to fix in place. The mud effects pigments as well. Actually, over a period of a number of shows that's been to over the years, I keep finding more and more of those pigments actually fallen off it. So every time in the carrier, there's always a Luke-shaped outline of withering pigments down on the thing.
It's
So
still traveling.
So it's still traveling, and it's all being knocked off. And so I was comparing that.
With a clear coat, not fix it in place, or
but then I think probably it could do, but I think because it's like powder, you actually need to fix it using a fixing solution, so it actually soaks into it and holds it in place. It sort of comes into place. So that was an earlier one, which I was quite pleased on. There's another thing that I was.
Okay.
We can have a quick look at some of the things I've tried with lighting, and then go on to weathering. This is the Bandai Millennium Falcon, not the big one. This is a 144 scale one. And that one, I don't know if you can see that. And the screen I'm sharing there is, you can't see it yet, can you?
You can't see it yet.
That's it. Is Jack all right to bring that? Is that that's not up?
Sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm
we go.
working with somebody on that.
The love of fiber optics.
Yeah. So that was my attempt at illuminating the. This is actually the gun wells in the
Falcon.
Millennium Falcon.
Yeah.
Now, for this, I mostly used, would you believe, a set of LED Christmas lights
Yeah.
as the basis. That's all I used. Nothing special, nothing fancy. I think the LEDs were from. I don't think I've got it. One of those LED. The fiber optics came from one of those fancy things that splays out and sits in the corner of the room, and
table decoration things.
Yeah, table decoration. So it's all sort of pre-used. The only thing I got specially was the shrink tubing.
One of these things.
Sorry.
One of these things.
That's it. Yep, one of those things. Yep, yeah. I can't remember what it's called.
Lamp, I think.
The genie.
But unfortunately, a lot of these broke. So, but if I
what did you use to fasten them in there with?
Sorry,
the fiber optic.
Oh, it was white glue.
Oh, white glue.
Okay. Yeah. I'm pretty sure it was all white glue.
Yeah.
It's not a good idea to use.
Don't use CA. CA will make the fiber brittle.
Yeah.
Something I watched on another builder's thing, and I've seen Lou do it too. But the tulip slick.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. That's it.
And it does the light block, but it's a lot easier on the fiber optic, especially even the more smaller one, because it doesn't matter what kind of glue you do, whether Elmer's glue, hot glue, whatever. It's like when you start messing with it, it just starts to snap.
Yeah.
So
I actually,
and when you got a bundle of fiber optics like that, and if you have to do any drastic folding, heat the fiber to shape
to soften it, warm it.
Don't try to dry bend it, because you'll break it that way too.
Yeah, and that was just basically used a button battery pack, basically.
The way I would do something like that is sometimes I use a soldering iron and hold it close. You don't want to put flame to a fiber optic. It's too hot, too fast. If you gently warm it over, you can bend it, say, whatever angle you think is necessary, and then you would stick it in the hole, and it'll stick out the other side, of course, at some length. Yeah. And then you drive all the fiber optics into a bundle going in the same direction, because right there they were not going in the same direction. They were kind of curving around.
Yeah.
That's what made them snap. They got stressed.
There was too much stress on them.
Ends.
Yeah. And basically, as I say, then the whole thing was weathered up. So there's some Starship weathering. I kept it more subtle. A lot of people tend to very heavily weather the Millennium Falcon. But I just kept it to sort of, grubby patches, and I thought it was a combination of there were some flory clay washes in there, but it was also things like the Tamiya pastel weathering pastels as well, and a little bit of, I don't know if you can see the streaking on there. A lot of that streaking was done using oils, but very, very gently. You don't want to flood it with, certainly not Bandai plastic. You don't want to get a lot of thinner on it, because it goes brittle.
Yeah. Or you don't want it attacking your paint underneath.
Yeah.
Well, there is a question that one of our chat people asked. Richard asked the question. Let me see if I can get back to it. He painted a model. He clear coated it. And then he used an oil wash. And when he did that, it took the paint up off the model.
Yeah.
Well, oil would be a solvent if it's
You'll often use something like odorless thinner with oils.
Mineral spirits.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, but I've actually got the odorless thinner because I cannot stand the some of the smells that it can get very, very strong.
Yeah, but
I can vouch for that.
not to use.
I left a bottle of this lying open
Yep.
the other night. Left overnight, walked in here, and there was quite a whiff.
Yes, but apparently this stuff is not trying to plug a specific brand, but that's the odorless thinner. And yeah, you can stick your nose in there. You can't smell anything. You still go lightheaded, so I don't recommend that. But it doesn't stink the place out when you do it.
You wouldn't use an oil wash, would you, for weathering? Because it dissolves as paint right through the clear coat.
Yeah, I would only use. I wouldn't use an oil wash, but I would use oils for like streaking effects and that.
And then
and filtering, dot filters and that sort of thing. I would use that, and you use basically what you do is for those sort of filtering effects. You would use. So I don't even. Did I do it on my last tank? Oh, I can't remember. What you do is you get various colors that would match up with the underlying paint, so that they're good and contrasted, but they don't work against it. Because what you're trying to do is produce like a modulation effect in the in the paint. And so what you do is you say put dots of a lighter version and let's say on a tank with German yellow on it, say the dark yellow. You would perhaps put little dots of white on there, and you would put some red brown on there, and some lighter yellow, that sort of thing. And then you get a flat brush. You moisten it with the thinner, but then you get the worst of it off, because then what you're doing is you're kind of almost wiping all those dots off, but you're leaving just enough.
Yeah.
To give you a variation in the paint.
Yeah. Don't coat the whole.
Yeah.
You don't coat that. Yeah. I mean that's great stuff. But what you're doing is you're producing a more natural effect of the variations within the paintwork, because in life, especially on say military vehicles and even on aircraft, the camouflage paint isn't a perfect flat value of that paint. There are modulations within it, and it's one way of reproducing that effect. It gives it a bit more life. Obviously you don't want to overdo it. It has to be kept subtle, but it just gives it that sort of. It takes away the toy-like look.
That's one thing you got to remember. You got to remember with your camouflage is that on vehicles and aircraft, it's not a factory paint job. It was painted by hand with brushes and rollers. In the field. Very often. It's going to be rough, awkward, and
sometimes they didn't have the color that they were supposed to have, so they made do with what they got.
They used what they had and mix things up. So you could have two planes side by side, and they have two different shades of the same pattern because they worked with what they had.
So it's there's also a thing called scale effect as well. So a lot of companies produce an exact match for the real color, but when a model is smaller, you'll often find that those colors are probably a bit too dark and they need to be lightened. When someone says, "Oh, that's not the right color, that's too light," or as long as you are consistent, as long as you're consistent and it looks right, then that's fine. But if you paint a model with the exact paint color that that it would have had through the out of the factory, then it doesn't. It always looks too dark, and in some cases, it does sort of look toy-like.
Yeah.
Oh no, Richard says, can you not apply an oil wash over acrylic? I think you can. Again, you have to be careful. You really need. I'm responding to Richard Stella. You need a barrier between it. So I mean, I always put a clear coat. Now, I don't use an acrylic clear coat. I use the Tamiya. The Tamiya clear coats.
Mm-hmm. I use when I do any clear coats, I use basically rattle can from hardware store. Those ones I like.
Right.
But also a thing on the weathering, brother. Forgive me for interrupting, but
no.
Something I had to learn how to do was, if I think it needs more, I need to walk away, because you can overweather things.
Yeah, it's very easy to overweather. Yeah.
And some I found, if you're like what you did with your tank, also I use a Tamiya smoke and just thin it down and lightly use my airbrush to help create.
That can make a very good wash. It is it is a bit glossy for me. I tend not to use Tamiya smoke, but it certainly has its use. It's great for tinting clear parts as well.
Yeah, and
a prime example of detail that goes. Some people, a lot of people go way overboard on is the classic rust.
Yeah,
people go way overboard on rust.
Yeah,
they even rust things that don't rust.
That was fabric. How is that rusty? Yeah.
Or parts of a vehicle that are aluminum or magnesium, steel composite that doesn't rust, or stainless steel, and they'll sit there and rust it. And it's like, what the heck are you doing?
It's like you are
rust and metal chipped paint.
Yeah.
On a fabric surface, as you said. Just not right somehow.
Well, we'll bring you into the conversation too, Randall. And you had something up. Let's go with this.
Yeah, my most basic weathering is really primitive. Chalk pastels and a kiddie's watercolor.
Yeah, watercolors. Yeah.
Yep.
The watercolor is good for the you would like the oil wash, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Being water, it doesn't react badly with paint. It can be wiped off with a damp cloth. Again, with just water. The trick being with the water, you add a tiny drop of liquid washing up soap.
Yeah. To make it 6%.
Yeah. Otherwise, you'll get your water just clumping in little beads all over the model surface. And the chalks, I've had the same set now for well over 20 years.
Yeah, they last forever.
Unless you drop it in Carpet Monster.
Yeah, and it was no harm to Flores, AK, and Vallejo and all these guys, but mine cost about £2 back in the day, and it's still with me. It's still usable.
Yeah, just go to your art supplies and get it, and don't pay for the price for the modeler's equivalent, because you'll pay.
Be right back.
You'll pay a fifth the price at the art supply.
Yep,
basically the same thing.
I think it's true to say that there is no one way to weather.
No,
you find your own way.
Your own way.
The way that you like to go. But there's no right and wrong way. Generally, that's like you find what's best for you, and there are so many tutorials out there on the internet that just look at them, try some of them. You aren't going to ruin a model just by trying a few of these things. Just sort of give it a try and see what works for you. Because I see a lot of things on there that I just cannot make them work. But that's me, not them. That they can make them work, I can't. And
The other thing that's out there now that I don't know Tamiya is making them and everything else are the weathering pastels. They're in like the cakes in a package, but you can buy those same. You get the price of that package, and you can go to the art store and get the powdered pastels there more for less than what it costs for that package of the wax pastels that Tamiya is selling.
Yeah, there is one thing I'd like to mention is to do with oil paints. Artists' oil paints tend to have a coarser grain than the one specific for modeling. So the oil paints, it is a good idea to go for if you can go for the modeler's oil paints, because you get there's a much finer pigment grain and it's better on the model.
They should, if you look at the artist oils, they will, if they're labeled right, they should give you what the grain of the pigment should be marked on the thing. So you want a fine grain pigment paint, or extra fine, or they go coarse, medium grade, fine, extra fine in the pigment. So you've got to check that when you're buying the artist paints. If you get the cheaper ones, it might be a medium grade pigment, so you have to check it. It's usually labeled on there what the grain is.
Yes, there's something. There was something that came up on the chat, but let's attack this first here with Randall.
This was one of my early efforts at lighting, done pretty much on the cheap.
It's the best way.
This is my efforts at the weathering with the.
Is that the old monogram one?
No, it's the Mobius.
Yeah, because it's got a clear windscreen, of course. The old monogram had the solid one, didn't it?
So this was my effort with the washes and chalk pastels and stuff like that. But maybe too subtle weathering on these ships, but
but they were supposed to be kept relatively clean, really, because they were right up until everything went to hell in a handbasket with them and silence. But
mine was at the start of the Cylon War,
that's a sort of when they're going off doing formation flying and that, and then coming back and the thing gets washed down and that. And so you said there's no right way or wrong way.
What you like and how well what you feel comfortable with.
I do like the lit cockpit.
Very cool, brother.
This was the Paragraphics photo etch set with the films that come with it, backlit with just one segment of a 3 LED strip that was just bent in a U shape around the front of the cockpit. So, as I say, basic lighting and 3 super bright LEDs for the engines, and away it went.
Nice.
Very nice.
That's a very good job there, mister, for a first-time try, but you're meticulous anyway.
What? Random?
This one was fun. This is a case of extremely simple lighting. Unfortunately, it doesn't show well in the photos, but buried in the plume here is one of those flickering candle LEDs. And it produces a nice effect on the plume here. I also prefer subtle lighting, if that's a thing. I know there's a lot of people when they put their lighting in, and it looks like it would light up the whole room or maybe even the whole block, and the crew get blind. I prefer maybe like lower level lighting, like
that's just right. That's just right. That's lovely.
Yeah, it should be subtle. The lighting should be subtle and not overpowering.
And the weathering was done with pencils and pencils drawing in the panel lines, and just black chalk pastel scrubbed into the surface.
Yeah.
Like maybe a bit of card or tape covering the line here, and then just streaked.
Which I think is pretty much how they did it originally. In the original filming.
Yeah,
model.
that is pretty much what they did. Yeah. There we are.
Brilliant.
Yeah, very nice.
I've always liked that build of yours.
Trying not to get the tape to lie across the decals, because the tape would have a tendency to lift the decal off, which would be fun. Not.
Yeah.
Bob Bruce says that he often uses shoe polish watered down for weathering, in addition to pastels and paint. I've used graphite. I haven't gone as far as graphite. Smashing down a graphite artist charcoal. I don't know, it wasn't even graphite; it was charcoal, and brushed it on.
Graphite is great for actually making things look metallic.
Metallic, yeah.
You get that metallic.
Very messy too.
Because it's reflective, so it'll give you a bit of that metallic reflection.
And not an overdone effect either. It just sort of gives it a bit of a sheen.
No,
it lifts it up.
Yeah, it works good for the effects too. Yeah.
This was my very, very first ever lighting project. All done with what was it, 3mm LEDs, colored LEDs. Just stuck in, mechanically joined. No soldering was harmed in the process. And the only alteration I did with any of the LEDs, I had to flatten this one a bit so it would fit in the Cobra head. And all run off 9-volt.
Excellent.
I also painted in this with a fluorescent green paint. So even when the lights weren't on, it still looks as if it's glowing. At least that's the theory, anyway.
I've even seen some people use the fact somebody, Wells 5150 says cinnamon is good. So that was a little while ago. I would agree cinnamon is good, but I think we were talking about rust at the time. Yeah, I've seen someone actually use like oregano, dried parsley.
Yeah.
Oh, I've used dried parsley as as ground cover for on a diorama base. Like sort of leaf litter. It's great for that.
Because it's a small size, so.
And the brilliant thing is, dried parsley will actually eventually fade to yellow, so you get a more and more of an autumny type effect.
Yeah.
So, I built a tank, and I don't know if I have pictures of my first and only tanks so far. I've actually used that. And flower arrangements, or maybe even artificial flower arrangements, right in the pot. They put this like green grass type of strawy thing. I don't know. It is organic. I think it's moss, dried moss of some sort. I've used that, and I'm too bad I don't have a picture of it, but I did. Oh, here it is. Let's see. Okay.
I used moss to do the hanging vines on the Grim Reaper trees. I used that to add that effect.
Oh, that's there it is.
Very cool.
This was actually done with this is the moss, and these are stones from the back alley of my house. And I put that on a plaque. And I used a lot of, and I use Vallejo paints almost exclusively, but this does have like an oily look to it. just black, and you just do what Bob Ross does, just do a lot of wet painting around the stones, and I did a lot of wash on the tank too. So
we'll make a happy, nice little oil dark spot here and here and here.
yeah, I'm surprised that this Vallejo turned out so oily looking. I mean, it looks this actually looks greasy to me.
It looks good though, brother.
But the only thing I didn't do was the inside of the wheels. After I took these pictures, I'm like, oops.
Dang it.
Caught that. I got to admit, this was probably one of my best efforts that I actually like looking at.
That is very good.
No mud. It's just very greasy and oily was my thinking on this.
Yeah.
I would say carbon, like from weapons firing and it firing its cannon, and looks really good. And then
And there was another one that I had. You were telling a story. A good patron and friend of ours. He's also from England. He created his own universe. He's written a novel which I've read. You can get it on Amazon. And I'm speaking about Neil Wooding.
Yeah.
And in his universe, he has these stasis pods. A little too close up on the camera. Trying to get the detail of this. Where I wanted to go is like right here. The story, like you were saying, Buck, and I used Tulip. This is actually Tulip to show like a leak, some kind of leak out of this pipe.
very nice.
Because I imagined his universe as being sort of, well, it's a company that mines, and that's the story is not the woman who's the captain of the ship is military, if I remember right, but she's working for a company, a mining company, and they go in these stasis pods, and it turns out the aliens aren't too particularly pleased with them. And yeah, I just imagined a world that was gritty and really, you see, there's like a new repair there, replacement hose. So I got like the gritty old stuff.
I like the frosted look around the glass.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. That's actually paint. That's actually paint. Just white paint, and a lot of you could go as far as saying it was dry brushed on. And I just wanted the effect of having it be cold inside, and I did paint this inside, not the outside. But the decal shows up. That's when I was first starting out, back in modeling, and I didn't have a way to cover it. But in this label is puckered. So I was really trying to tell a story here too, Buck.
Yeah.
By looking at it, it's leaking. It's been repaired. Things have been replaced.
It looks used. Yeah, it's been
very used. Very used. Yeah. So that's the non electronic things that I've participated in, as far as what you guys do. So, process of scratch building 90-degree elbows. Can't find the size I need to 90-degree elbows, like in piping wells. Good morning, Dark.
Yeah, elbows. Yeah, well, you can get styrene piping in the plasma stuff at the hobby shop, and then you can make elbows out of that. You can heat it and bend it. Put something in the center of the tube so it doesn't kink.
Yeah.
Or you can, and then heat it and bend it to make elbows.
You can bend it over a corner of a table. That'll give you a close enough to a 90-degree, I guess.
Yeah.
Unless you've got like beveled Queen Anne tables or something.
Well, if you don't get the tubes, if you get the solid from the plasma stuff, get the solid rather than the tubes. That might bend better and not kink and easier to heat up and bend.
Yeah, he's afraid of the kink, but you put wire in it, wouldn't you? Didn't you just say that?
Yeah.
No. Oh, yeah, you could put a wire or something to fill the center core of the. If you're doing a tube, something to fill the center core that's flexible, and then when you heat it, bend it. Like normally you could use a small spring or something like that, like spring out of a pen or something to put into it, and then heat the tube and bend it.
Something like a pipe cleaner would do the job, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. You just want something to hold the wall up when you're heating the tube up so it doesn't fold in on itself.
And you'd probably need to do it. You don't want to do it all at one clip.
No.
So I think what it's saying is he needs to bend the tubes so he can run wires through it.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. But you can get...
That can be trickier because if you use something inside to support the tube while you're bending it, then you have the problem getting that out of the tube.
And then just take that out of the tube when you're done bending it. That's all. Don't
Maybe you put the wires you want to use it as a conduit. Just thread it through right off the bat and not even
use the electric wires to support the tube itself while you're bending it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and when I worked in a hardware store, we had the soft copper tubing for like hooking up a refrigerator with water. And the tube bender was actually a spring that you would put the tube through the spring.
Yeah.
But the spring was relatively snug around the copper tube. And when you bent it, it kept the copper tubing from kinking.
Yeah.
Now, I'm thinking with plastic, I think you'd probably want the support on the inside. And not on the outside.
Yeah.
Although it could work if it was on the outside, but what would you use?
Yeah, but you don't want something that's going to mark the outside. So if you put it on the inside, if it marks the plastic on the inside, you don't care.
Does that answer your question? I'm not so sure. I've never tried that. That is something to keep in mind, though.
As I was saying, if it's electric wiring you want to run through, if you're putting something inside to support the tube, then after it's bent, you might have difficulty getting that out of the tube again.
Yeah.
So you use the electric wire itself.
There's brass tubing you can use too.
It depends how much
brass tubing with the hobby grade brass. They do make a bender for the small tubing, so that prevent it from kinking. Yeah. So there is a tool available to bend the small brass tube.
Yeah. He says it's been frustrating. Oh, if it's brass, oh my God. That's a tough one.
Yeah. Not knowing the exact application. That's why I said the styrene tubes are easier to deal with.
And if it needs to be metallic, just paint it that way.
Yeah, you just use your hot air gun and heat
up.
There you go.
Hot air gun.
Use a hot air gun.
It depends if it's also for mounting a model as well.
Yeah.
It is styrene, so it's plastic. So, yeah. So you could. You have to be really careful. You could try warming a section and which is probably what you've already tried doing.
Yeah.
Well, that would be something to figure out if it's brass. But he says it's not styrene that he's working on. But
he said no styrene.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, well, okay. That explains that.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, if you can get a spring that's the right size, that might.
See, you can get
help.
This is a larger size, but in the evergreen plastic, you can get the styrene tubes.
Yeah, but he says he's not doing styrene.
He's not doing styrene?
Mm.
But if he's doing brass...
He's not doing styrene.
Well, if you're not doing styrene, then you're doing brass, and you need to brass tubes, and then get the bender for the micro bender for the tubing.
Oh, so there is such a thing that I was describing in a hardware store?
No. He says he is doing styrene. It's not brass. He's
Oh,
yeah.
I'm sorry. Oh God. I've had a rough week, guys. Can't you tell with this? Sorry. I'm being extraordinary right now. That's for sure.
I mean, I suppose you could try and do it like it depends what radius you want on it, but you could try cutting wedges into it and just gluing it around the curve.
Yeah, if you cut little notches in the tube
and then just
and
use,
work it around
and use Tamiya extra thin on it and
you
gluing
can do
it.
that too.
So,
yeah, don't cut it all the way through. Just cut it about 3/4 the way through.
Yeah,
and little notches along the bottom.
Cut little thin wedge shapes out, and you can get your curve that way.
Yeah,
and then to make it look good on the outside, if it's to be on display, you can then just sort of put a bit of fill around it and
put some filler putty around it to fill the cracks.
Well, okay. I think
there's different techniques of doing it.
Yeah. Sorry, I was shoving the top of my head in the camera.
Dead horses on the floor over here, so I think we beat that one pretty good. Well, I think the best thing to do. You're going to be using heat. I think that is true. I think we all agree that you're going to be using heat. But how to support the tubing while you are heating it and bending it? I think styrene would be forgiving if you get it the right temperature. And we haven't even mentioned hot water. And I think hot water coming right out of the tap.
That's a good do it.
Yeah.
Make it soft enough and solid enough and you just got to work it and burn your fingertips. That's the only thing that, hey, I've sliced my thumb open and needed 6 stitches. So, I mean, we do sacrifice for our hobby, don't we?
Oh, yeah. If there's not blood in our builds, then we didn't do it right.
There's no blood on it. We didn't do it right.
Yeah,
no blood on it.
Every model has to have a bit of our DNA in it somewhere.
Oh, you haven't built it right if you haven't. Yeah.
Well, the question that I have is, and this is probably a very selfish thing when it comes to wiring and electronics and the like, is that I think we got to do somehow. I'm trying to crack this nut without turning too many people off, because I did a survey on both the Facebook community and the MeWe community, and what's interesting is there's a lot of people most times incorporating LEDs and the like to their builds.
Yeah.
I was actually surprised. I'd say 95% of the respondents to it, although this is as scientific as the polls that we've been hearing lately are, it just seems like a lot of people are doing this sort of thing. And I think it's something that not many people have talked about, and I was just wonder if there's any interest in doing a show of options. Like, I'm into doing the electronics works, and Jim has been a valuable source of information. And what I discovered in my travels with the electronics is that Jim does not read minds. But if you ask him a question, he has an answer for you. Because I had to give you a quick example, is the decade counter is erasing lights. I go, 10 LEDs. I just needed 5 to do that because 10 was too many. So I was getting involved with current regulators and diodes and all sorts of things. He's like, oh, Jack, you're just overthinking this. All you got to do is just take this little wire on the decade counter and move it over to this side and you'll be fine. And he's right. And you could see the video on the communities that I posted that indeed it's a 5, and it gave me the spinning effect for the Star Trek ship nacelles. So that, and I think it turned out wonderfully. And if you don't want to do this, if you don't want to tinker and learn about electronics and forward voltage and voltages and what an IC is and what a transistor is capable of, I find this stuff fascinating just the same. But most modelers, or there are some modelers out there, are afraid. And what I find interesting too, to add to this, modelers have to be, and I'm really going out on a limb saying this, are probably the most patient people I've ever met. No response. But when it comes to soldering a circuit, they're like, no, I can't do that. I can't do that. I can't do that. And it just seems so funny that they're meticulous. What we talked about was the weathering
and detailing
and the detailing, and to be accurate, to be World War II accurate as opposed to Vietnam War accurate. This sort of thing. But when it comes to like circuits,
electrical stuff, it goes right out the window. Yeah.
There are people who do circuits for you. All you got to do is go through their instructions, and they'll make the circuit for you. Like Ralph from Tenet Controls is one. There was a number of other people. The angst of an artist.
Yeah. Bernie Patrol on our side of the pond.
The angst of the artist. That sounds like a title of a really bad television show. But yeah, it is angsty at times because I think this hobby can involve a lot of other things. And I think it was Jim that was showing us in Japan. They even built a moving Gundam, 1-to-1 scale.
1-to-1 scale, yeah.
So you got involved with robotics and the hydraulics, and I'm not suggesting that a modeler should do that, but that is an interesting area. I think though, when we talk about modeling, when we think technology, we think of the RC guys. But I think we can incorporate some technology in our builds. And I dare anybody watching this, and including you guys, just maybe consider yourself. Basic Electronics is teaching himself Arduino. So am I. Well, I will be. But yeah, incorporating technology. What do you think, guys?
I think that's the way. Yeah. I mean, even right down to like, this is something I've mentioned several times. You get certain models with massive interiors that you can't see. You can't see. They're totally hidden. Well, they now make little miniature cameras that are only about the sizes of the back of a pen that you could actually bring video of that out of the model now.
Yeah.
And small little board that's Wi-Fi, so you just mount it inside the thing, you turn it on, and you can pick it up on your tablet or your phone, the video right from inside the model.
Yeah, a phone camera, and that's the cameras you're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah. They got the little tiny one. You can get them online. There's the little dot camera, and it's on a ribbon cable, and it goes to a little circuit board with the Wi-Fi circuit already built into it. So it's already out there.
RC guys use that. So I think if you tap the brain of or I'll say, what's the saying? I don't see. I am so dead right now.
Here's an idea.
That's it. Pick the brain of an RC guy. They'll tell you.
Yeah. Here's an idea. Buck, you're starting work on the refit, aren't you, at some stage? Right?
Yes.
Yeah. If you can get one of those little cameras in where Kirk boards the Enterprise and give the point of view from his point of view as he arrived at the shuttle bay.
Yeah.
Because I mean, there's a lot of detail in that shuttle bay that you can't see.
You can't see. It's hidden way inside. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
like it's.
Mm-hmm. I've already got a primer, but yeah, I mean, once you put this in, there's
you can't see half of it.
Yeah,
half of it's buried. It's there, but it's buried.
Yeah,
especially the lower level.
Lower level in the back. It's not fully detailed, but you can't see it.
Yeah. And did I deal with that? And then the atrium.
Yeah, the atrium's another one.
Yeah, and then it'd be great because this. Let me get it up here. This is the observation lounge. You know?
Yeah, the atrium, the bridge is another one.
Well, the one I was thinking about with that camera is I also have the TOS 1/350 scale that I'm going to be enterprise. And, you know, the dome on top of the bridge is clear, but and you do all this great work inside the bridge, but
you can't see it.
You can only see what is basically up and down, you know.
Yeah, rather than one that was down and looking down on an angle under the bridge. Yeah.
So you want one of those little cameras where the view screen would be.
Yeah.
Or put the camera where the cameras in the real studio set usually sat.
Yeah.
Or put it right at the turbo lift door area.
Yeah.
So looking forward over the shoulders of everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wells also coordinating light, sound, and motion. Light and sound. I think.
Sound. You start adding. You can start adding servos, which comes right out of the RC thing to control it. Use your adrenal circuit to control the servos, and you can do all kinds of mechanical.
Well, I've seen a guy in Germany do the Voyager ship. The nacelles go like this, and he held up his iPhone and he's pushing buttons, and in the background you see this thing going.
As well as you've seen it done with the landing ramp on the Falcon and everything.
Oh yeah. Well, I haven't met anybody that's actually done that. I'm just bringing it up just to dare anyone within my circles to do something like that.
You know, you can't guarantee the guy not try to go through with it. So
that would be a love affair with obsession. That would be a love affair with obsession.
Another model that's got massive interior and you can only see a little bit once it's put together unless you design and take it apart is the Jupiter 2.
The Jupiter.
I mean, so much detail inside and so much to light and to see.
Yeah.
But unless you make it to the top that you can take it off and on easy,
you can't see it.
4 windows, and that's
it. Yeah. Everything else is lost. Yeah.
Well, we murdered an hour or a little more.
Yeah.
And it's been great. Every time I do this, I have some apprehension of doing a show because I have no idea I'll just come up with a topic and you guys just fill it in. And kudos to all of you. Thank you, Buck, Randall, Phil, and Jim for showing up and making me look good because I do such a good job of making myself look so bad. Anyway, next month, and I got to stress this to everybody. It's been a month now that I've talked to a couple of folks, namely of which Jamie Hood of Round 2, and it was actually his idea to do a wish list show. Basically, we talk about kits we wish existed. And he's calling it market research. He's always liked those conversations, although a lot of the ideas are just near to impossible or not even profitable, as he said. But it's good to hear what's on the minds of modelers when it comes to
what they would like. Yeah.
Since it's going to be December, and that's the month of Christmas. December 5th is that first Saturday. So I'll try to schedule everybody to do a wish list show. And you folks, whether on camera with us or in chat, if there's enough people on chat, I'll just post, because I can, do this, and we can go through the different things.
Yeah.
And Wells, of course, said thank you. And you're welcome. Wells, it's first I've seen you come in, and I hope you come back. And I want you all coming back to the wish list show next month. So there you have it. And thank you all for joining and making this possible. Y'all have a good, happy modeling. Goodbye, everybody, and we'll see you next month.
Have a good night.
Right.
guys.